After re-researching George Washington for this episode, I realized something. Of course, we have always made him into a hero, but in my opinion, not quite in the right way. We all learn about him in school: the first president, the general who won the revolution, the father of our country. But we don't really stop to think about what it meant that he gave up political power. He could have kept it. He was the general of the army. He could have ruled for life. Instead, he handed back power to the people. And here's the contradiction: Washington gave up political power, but he never gave up power he held over enslaved people. That's part of his story, too. It doesn't erase what he did for the Republic, but it reminds us that even our greatest leaders were flawed. And maybe that's the point. We shouldn't turn them into untouchable heroes. We should understand them fully, because only then can we learn from them. The act of surrendering power shocked Europe. King George III even said if Washington really gave up power, he'd be the greatest man in the world. And he did. Twice elected, twice willing to walk away. No one forced him. He chose limits. He chose elections. He chose restraint. And honestly, I think you can tell how much a country means to a leader by whether they cling to power at the expense of the people, or whether they're willing to walk away when it's what's best for the nation. And Washington showed us what real leadership looks like. Before he walked away, he gave us something priceless: his farewell address. It wasn't just a goodbye, it was a warning, a guidebook for how to keep the Republic alive. The tragedy is, almost every warning he gave, we ignored. Washington pleaded for unity. The name of American must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. Almost as soon as he left office, cracks appeared: North versus South, slavery versus free states. By 1861, those divisions exploded into the Civil War. And today, it's urban versus rural, red versus blue, coastal versus heartland. And we see how those divisions are used against us. When people stop seeing themselves as Americans first, it becomes easy to label, argue, and dismiss the other side. Division isn't just a problem, it's a weapon. Washington warned, the alternate domination of one faction over another is itself a frightful despotism. He saw political parties as engines of division, where loyalty to a side would eclipse loyalty to country. That really does sound familiar, doesn't it? And sure enough, Jefferson and Hamilton were already battling before he even left office. By 1800, the country was split into two camps. Today, parties don't just divide us, they define us. People live in different realities depending on which side they're on. We forget we are on the same side. Washington urged, "It is our true policy to steer clear of permanent alliances with any portion of the foreign world." Wow, if that's not eye-opening. He was America first before anyone else. He wanted us to stay out of everyone else's business and just think about ourselves and making our country great. Yet, in our whole history, we've only been at peace for a ridiculously short time. By 1812, we were already fighting the British again. Today, we're in practically every permanent alliance there is, except, of course, the ones openly wishing for our downfall, which seems to be multiplying lately. In the 20th century, we joined NATO. We fought 2 world wars and built a foreign policy of constant intervention. Washington's vision of restraint abandoned almost immediately. Washington insisted, of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. This wasn't a theory, he meant it. And here's the thing, religion is a personal decision, but at the core of every faith, when you strip away the rituals, they all preach the same basic morality: kindness, honesty, and respect. And for those who don't believe in religion, every person still has a sense of what is right and wrong. The problem is we've lost the importance of that in our society. Just treating people with basic kindness and respect could take us further than most laws ever will. Washington didn't call for theocracy, but he did believe that without morality, the republic would collapse. Looking around today, it's hard not to wonder if we've proved him right. Washington reminded us, the Constitution is the guide which I never will abandon. And that's the heart of it. The Constitution was designed to protect freedoms and keep power in check. The founders set up a system of checks and balances so no one branch could dominate, and so the people would remain in control. That was the whole point. Government restraints by law, not by the whims of men. But look around today. Every week, there's a new overreach, a new test of limits, and Congress too often sits back instead of standing up. The checks and balances that were supposed to keep leaders in line are eroding, and with them, the freedoms that Washington and the others fought for. The Constitution isn't just parchment in a museum. It's supposed to be living guardrails. And when those guardrails fail, we lose more than just laws. We lose the very idea that the people, not the powerful, are in charge. Washington's farewell address wasn't just nostalgia. It was a warning. Some people say he was being pessimistic, but really, he was being realistic. He had seen firsthand what happens when power goes unchecked. He fought a revolution against it. He knew the dangers, and he tried to warn us. And here's what we sometimes forget. Washington wasn't the last person of character. There are still people out there who want what's best for this country. Great leaders didn't stop at Washington, and seeing the darker parts of his life remind us these figures throughout history were men and women just like us. Flawed, complicated, human. That's why we can't get so locked into party and affiliation. The question isn't red or blue. The question is, who has a spine? Who has morals? Who has character? Because in the end, that's what keeps a republic alive. Thank you so much for watching my episode. I hope this brought up some interesting points for you. I would love to hear in the comments, what do you think about the warnings George Washington gave in his farewell address? And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Thank you so much.